Okay, so another Patreon request dropped this week. I could have sworn this was coming next week, god damn it. Whatever, let's hammer this one out really quickly since I'm kind of in the middle of making my own music here. Oh, thank God Behemoth gave me until at least October with their new one, but anyway, Def Havana. I actually caught bits and pieces of their last one while I was cruising the new releases last year. I remember digging what I heard of all these countless nights, but it didn't really leave enough of an impression for me to take too much notice of it. I'm sorry guys, 2017 just had way too many other albums catching me off guard. It was decent, you know, it was a sorta gloomy guitar pop kind of thing, but I don't know, compared to all the awesome stuff I heard in 2017, it just kinda didn't make itself worth much of a mention, which is why it surprised me to hear that this was a thing that was popping up. Like, really? Already? I mean, y'all know how I feel about bands rushing out albums every single year, but I don't know, in the days of surprise releases, 8-day album cycles, and Steam trolling, oh god, syrupy tits, the stream trolling, I guess this kind of fast cash, low substance approach to music making is just something we're gonna be seeing more of now. Well, I never said I wasn't a hypocrite, now did I? Thankfully though, the new Def Havana doesn't feel nearly as cynical as all that. In fact, it feels like quite a different and original approach for them. This album here, way more pop influence. Keyboards and drums really take the forefront of the soundscape on a lot of tracks here, and the guitar work, while still present and accounted for, tends to stay much more clean, crisp, and riff-focused, as opposed to some of the crunchier stuff we heard on the last album. I heard that in earlier times these guys used to be much heavier, and they've kind of been gradually sanding off their edges with each progressive album. Well, this record shows us a sound from them that's so smooth and edgeless at this point you can remove all the baby-proofing from it. That having been said though, I really don't hate it, not at all. Like I said, the problem I had with their last album was that nothing about it stuck out too much, you know? Well, on here, songs like Sinner, Ritual, and Pure have almost kind of a 1975 vibe to them, only it sounds like a 1975 that doesn't have its head buried quite so far up its ass, and other stuff like Hell, Evil, and Saint have just the slightest, tiniest little tinges of 21 Pilots sprinkled in there, maybe? Maybe just a hint of, like, early Imagine Dragons? Like, I mean early Imagine Dragons, before all this shit. In fact, you could easily make an argument that this is yet another band that's been devoured by the Imagine Dragon this year, what with its heavier focus on electronica and its eagerness to jump on more popular trends in stark contrast to their usual heavier sound. But the thing is, here, I just kind of like them better like this, you know? These guys seem to work much better as a poppier act than they did as a straight-up rock affair. I dig this more. This has more identity, this has more character, it has more flavor to it. Like I've said in the past, I'm not against a band changing their sound or mixing things up drastically, as long as it works. And well, yeah, oddly enough, they sound way less generic, incorporating more of the pop grooves and melodies into their sound. I mean, of course, this is all coming from somewhat of a newbie's perspective here. Like I said, I've only really had major time with this and their previous album. I don't know what most of their back catalog sounds like. If it was drastically different from those two, I can imagine some of the old school stalwarts throwing a great big fit over how much of a shift this album might be. But unlike some of the other artists that went synth pop this year, I do not feel the same cynicalness. There isn't that same kind of lazy, uninspired, let's just do what the kids like kind of vibe to it. There's genuine passion, talent, and thoughtfulness on display. I like how the lyrics on this record are much more focused around personal redemption and growth, but still have just like that smallest touch of sorrow and regret laced all throughout it to give you a subtle hint as to where our protagonist is in his life, and by the end track, Epiphany, you get a big curtain reveal as to exactly what you've been listening to this whole time. Oh, good God, that was a downright clever bait and switch. It's the kind of closing track that will make you want to give it a second listen. I mean, honestly, I wasn't expecting too much from these guys, especially when I heard that they were going with more of a pop sound. God knows that's produced some real gems this year, you know what I mean? But with this record, yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. Pop seems to be a much more comfortable fit for Def Havana. I wouldn't mind hearing more in this vein of style from them. It's definitely an exception to the old Imagine Dragon rule. I guess when the beast devours some bands, it shits them back out as diamonds. I'm not gonna get my hopes up for anything else that's getting eaten by the Imagine Dragon this year, but this is a nice exception to the rule. Rituals gets 4 funny-smelling diamonds out of 5.